Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Women in Leadership Talk podcast. As you know, I'm your host, Vicki Bradley, and I'm going to ask you to take 2 seconds, hit our subscribe button, make sure you leave us a review after you hear this conversation. That keeps us going and keeps us growing, which we want to definitely do. We have an awesome guest joining us today, LauraAura. Thank you for chiming in from Pennsylvania. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Vicki. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm excited to have you because Laura and I are going to have this whole conversation about gutsy moves. Because Lord knows, we ladies, we need to be more gutsy and doing things to change the world. So we're super excited to have you. And audience, we're super happy to hear you chiming in from 90 plus countries around the world. You know, we love having you sharing this with your sisters, brothers, mothers, whoever. So, if this episode resonates with you, make sure you do share it and let us know what else you want us to talk about. So let me give you a little bit of context as to why I've asked Laura to be with us. One, she's a gutsy mover, so that's a good thing, and she helps women stop resisting making those moves. She's works with clients who are overthinking, have self-doubt. Or are you one of those waiting for just the right time? These are all the patterns that keep people stuck and settling instead of stepping forward. LauraAura is a dynamic keynote speaker, personal growth coach, and she's the host of the Gutsy podcast. So make sure you chime into her podcast as well. It's one of the top 100 shows helping people own their desires and take gutsy action. She's got over 18 years as a business owner and a decade of speaking experience. She's helped countless individuals and teams break through hesitation and move boldly toward what they want. Through high energy, activating speeches, Laura teaches audiences how to cut through mind junk, gain clarity, and take action without overthinking or overcomplicating those next steps. So we're going to talk about that today. She's a real visionary, and so I'm excited to get her thoughts on what gutsy moves look like. So LauraAura, let's jump in. Give us a little insight about what led you to becoming a keynote speaker and doing the work that you do now, but how'd you get here?
Yeah, it's wild. It was not the original plan, which
Never
is
is.
it never is, isn't it? My background is in graphic design and branding. So I spent 22, 23 years in the branding industry. I spent 16 of those years running a branding agency. I thought I was going to brand until the day I left this planet. Turns out the universe had other plans. I just did not know or realize that. But what was really interesting was, we worked primarily with entrepreneurs, business owners, people, startups, people going after their dreams, right? Making gutsy moves. And it was always fascinating because we would have like the regular meeting, just talk about logos and branding and colors. But then afterwards, almost always the owner or the CEO or the person in charge would pull me to the side and be like, Laura, you got a second? I want to run something by you. This was never a conversation about branding. They wanted to talk about this wild idea that they couldn't tell anybody else because everyone else thought they were going to be crazy. Like, what are you doing? You're out of your mind. They wanted to talk about a fear or an insecurity that they couldn't tell anybody else because they didn't want to look like they didn't have their stuff together. Right? Like this was all the inside stuff. This was the stuff that kept them up at night, whether it was good, bad, or in between. They just wanted to talk to somebody and know what to do next. And it really planted this seed in me that I did not realize was being planted. And I came alive in those conversations. Like I wanted to know more. I wanted to understand what was stopping them. I wanted to understand what they were doing and what they were not doing. And so I started to interview them. I was like, okay, we need to have this conversation because if you're feeling like this, I certainly feel like this. Maybe there are a few others that do as well. And it turns out everyone, I've not yet met a person that does not have an internal dialogue that questions them. And so I interviewed them. And back in the day, it was called the Green Couch Project. I wanted to do more of that. So it evolved into the Gutsy podcast, which is now 7 years old at time of conversation here today. And, I wanted to have more of these conversations. So I got asked to speak at like Chamber of Commerce and Lunch and Learns and come into organizations. And all the while, the scale was slowly tipping. And post-COVID, that's a whole story of its own. I just got to this fork in the road where I was like, I don't think I want to brand anymore. That's a gutsy move we could dig into.
Oh, yes.
And I ultimately sold the business, left the industry completely, and went full-time speaking and coaching because this is the work that's been planted in me all along. This was just the time and the season to go for it.
Yeah, love it. Well, and what you were just describing, it's kind of like you had one foot in one arena and one foot in the other, and that's a tough one to navigate, right? And so it does take the gutsy move and the confidence internally that yeah, this has been preparing me for this all along.
Yep. And this is the space that most people find themselves in eventually, right? Like where you're straddling two worlds, where what you are doing or have or are living in is not quite it, but maybe you're not even sure what it is.
Mm.
What is the next step? What do I want to do? Or maybe you have some clarity on it and the fear just completely takes over, right? So we're straddling, I don't want this anymore, but I'm terrified or unsure how to do this. So I keep straddling both worlds, and that causes so much tension, right? Like, I think that there's a period of time in which we have to marinate in that. I think that's the space where we get more clarity, where we get information, where we find what our next steps are. But at some point, you have to make a decision. And I think that's one of the biggest things that stops people from moving forward is indecision, wavering back and forth. Should I not? Getting opinions of 4,000 different people, looking online for advice, right? Like we're looking everywhere other than inside. And so making a decision is what helps you to say, okay, I've got clarity. Now I can start making moves that support that instead of what I don't want anymore.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a big aspect of it right there. Like when you wake up a year from now, do you want to still be asking that question,
Yeah,
right? Like if not, then make a change, take a step, right? Like you're it's easy to get into that narrative of what if in a negative way. It's so important to flip that script and reframe it in, well, what if? What if this is the boldest move I make and it's the most impactful for myself, for all the people that I'm going to be engaging with? Because it's easy to go down the rabbit hole of negativity,
for sure.
right? Or
That's
self
like a
doubt.
that's like a slide with olive oil on it. Like, I mean, we're just going.
Love it. It's true. And it's takes a lot of courage to take that step and also say, well, what if? What if I step on that stage and I have, the entire audience lined up to talk to me after, right?
Yeah.
Versus what if I get on that stage and nobody wants to hear what I'm saying? You got to believe in yourself with some conviction, and are you aligned, right? And
Yeah.
so it sounds like you were aligned and you knew time to get that other foot moved over.
It was time to go, but I'm gonna be like extra honest here. In this period, like leading up to making that change, I was speaking, right? I was not getting paid yet. I certainly was not living off of it, but I was experimenting. I'm really all about like paying attention to what your body's saying and how it feels. And I just knew every time I did it, I wanted to do more of it. And there was a moment I got asked to speak on a fairly decent sized stage in my community, and I'm excited, right? It's for a women's group. It's the right messaging. It felt amazing. There happened to be a snowstorm, but the event did not get canceled. And I can remember getting mic'd up. I remember getting prepared. I remember walking out on the stage to just like, I like to just take an inventory of the room and the space, and nobody showed up. Nobody.
Real, you showed up.
I was there. My team at the time was there, and the event coordinators were there. That's it. And this was one of those moments that it could look like I'm not doing the right thing. This is a sign I'm not where I'm supposed to be. Oh, this isn't going to work. But my body was like, "Oh no, we're not going there."
Mm,
Because I felt freaking alive. I
love
was
it.
like, "I can't wait to get back on. What do I need to do to get back here?" Does it suck in the moment? Yes. Did I have an absolute meltdown? You betcha. But this was one of those moments where it's like, okay, it looks like it's not going to work, but I know it's going to. I don't know how. I don't know when. I don't know all the pieces, but I know in my body that this is a hell yes, that this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And so sometimes when you're making these moves, it might look like it's not going to work or it's not working in the timeline in which we have crafted. We're fantastic at
That's
saying, okay,
true.
well, by this day, this is going to happen. And then when it doesn't, we're like, well, that's it. Pack it up. I suck. It's not going to work. It it is, and it will if you keep going. And that's one of the biggest pieces of this is like you have to be willing to continue even when you don't have the external validation that it's working.
Well, and to your point, I think what you were describing there, you had the internal validation. And so often as human beings, we're looking for that external validation. And that is not really, I mean, who cares what somebody else thinks? It's not your business what they think. But
Yeah.
it is that internal validation that is the difference of whether you keep going or you give up.
Yep.
And Lord knows we don't want to wake up someday and say, I wish I had,
Yeah.
or if only, right? Like you got to go for it and do it with conviction. And so, Laura, what do you think happens? Like, what is that block that really is hidden underneath that makes people hesitate so much in taking a step, making a choice or a decision?
There's a lot of things. There's emotion that gets involved, there's fear that gets involved. I think one of the biggest ones that I see, let's just go ahead and assume that fear is always part of this. Okay.
Mm.
Like that's always in the car with us. But one of the biggest things that I see is this desire, this need to have it all figured out first. Like we want a perfectly curated plan. We want to know how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. We need to have all the knowledge of every piece of everything that we don't know that we need to know yet. You know what I mean? Like we want to know what the weather is going to be like that day so we can curate our outfits. We want to have the planner with the right color gel pens. I don't know if that's still a thing or not, but and we're like, until I have all of it figured out, I can't move. And listen, I love a good plan. Don't get me wrong. And there is an absolute time and place for a plan, but we have to start focusing on, are we really clear about what we want?
Yeah.
That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And if so, what is one next move I can take towards that? That's it. We overcomplicate the shiznit out of this. Like we make it so big and so scary and so unknown that we just shut down.
Yeah. It's true. It is true. I mean, and to your point, we make it overcomplicated and it is taking that step, but it's also recognizing you took the step and celebrating the fact that you took that step, right? Like,
Yep.
it's like, come on.
Yeah, seriously. And it's like, recognizing that, hey, if I don't know, I believe in myself enough to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
If this is something that I just have no knowledge on, I trust in my ability to have a conversation, to ask for guidance. I can research things. I can figure things out along the way. You know what I mean? Like we just go into this, well, I don't have it right now, so therefore I cannot do anything. Friend, if we sat across the table from one another, I could give you 5 steps to do today.
Yeah.
Easily. And not gargantuan steps, not flip the table over steps, but micro steps. And in these small gutsy moves, that's the stuff that actually makes it happen.
I know. And there's such a disconnect with people in understanding that, right? Like you articulated that beautifully, that we want the whole package together, right? Before we actually will take a step. And that is, you might do that, and that might be the entirely wrong direction, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And that's why those micro moves are so important because they do accumulate. They add up over time, and you're testing and feeling it out as you go.
Yeah,
And sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
you're gathering information. You're meeting people along the way. You're opening yourself up to say, okay, I'm seeing things differently now. Now I'm in the energy of this thing that I'm doing. Now my brain is scanning for the things that I'm working on and towards. I'm listening to conversations differently. I'm listening to podcasts differently. I'm meeting different people at different events. You know what I mean? Like your spidey senses are just on differently when you're actively moving in it. Whereas when we're just sitting still in our little cocoons with our notebooks and saying, okay, once I figure it out, then I'll do all the things. Friend, that is control. It is control. That's what's happening. You're trying to control something that doesn't want or need to be controlled. The control is within yourself. The control is having the discipline to keep moving or to take one next step. The control is saying, hey, I don't know, but I'm willing to find out.
Yeah.
That's control. That's like grounded, rooted, like I've got this energy.
Yeah. Well, and when you were just describing that, I was thinking of a woman I was talking to the other day, and she had started this business out of her home. And, she was doing it, like loves cooking, was on some of the, like Master Chef, like some different cooking shows, won a couple. And then she all of a sudden had this epiphany. She wanted to create like a more organic, natural dog treats, right? And but yet she started it in a whole different way. And so to your point, she didn't have it figured out, right? Today, she's in over 15,000 retail locations.
I mean,
Right? Because she kept experimenting. And one of the things that she talked about was the importance of what you just said, the listening, the studying, putting yourself out there and with the people who have some experience, some expertise, just to learn, right? Doesn't mean you're going to do what they've done. But I think we sometimes, and she talked about this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the comparison. I think comparison is a phenomenon that we're in mostly because of social media now, but why do we do that? And it wasn't just social media. We did it when we were in school. We did it when we're working, right? You're always comparing. How do I stack up to that other person?
yeah, that's real. And it's in our face 24 hours a day if we allow it to be. I think it's a natural human tendency. I don't think that we're doing anything inherently wrong. I think we just get a little off track of ourselves because, I mean, I know that you and I and everyone listening has heard this 10,000 different ways, but we have no idea what that journey was like for that person to achieve that. We're not taking into account the 10,000 micro gutsy moves that they made to get to that point. The internet is really great right now about like seemingly overnight success, especially in business, how you're having, this K amount of months, or in, if you're working in leadership in a corporation, how I went from this position to all the way to the top, right? Like how things just seemingly happen overnight. Wild. I've not met a single person, by the way, where it was just seemingly overnight. And even if one move did crack that open, because that's very possible, I see it all the time, it's not like they didn't do anything leading up to that.
Right, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So I think sometimes we just need to zoom out for a second and realize I am exactly where I'm supposed to be in the time frame that I'm supposed to be in.
Yeah.
If I was supposed to be there already, I would be. But I'm gathering my own information right now. I'm meeting the right people. My moment is already on the way. And I would maybe even argue to say that you've had tons of moments along the way.
Yeah.
You just didn't stop to celebrate them, you big goof. You know what I mean?
Like, you're too busy moving to the next thing.
You're just running and running and running, and I won't feel good until I get there. And then what happens? We get there, uneventful.
Next thing.
Yep. It's either uneventful, we're on to the next thing, we blow it off. It didn't feel as good as we thought it would because we didn't slow down because we're always chasing a moving goalpost, which is what everyone else is doing online. So I've started to reframe, because I do it too sometimes. I'm like, oh, that's a better speaker than me. Oh, that podcast is getting more downloads than I am. And I'm like, hold the phone first. Let me look at all the great stuff that I've already done. Let me check myself before I wreck myself. Okay. And second, if I'm seeing success in somebody else, I now take that as a cue, as a mirror. You're showing me what's possible. Thank you.
Yes, exactly.
You're showing me what's important to me. Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's this internal dialogue shift of, oh, it's not that they're ahead of me or better than me or doing more greater things than I am. They're showing me what could be next for me. Yeah. That's exciting.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Well, and that brings me to my next question. Like, often, especially people who are high achievers, they think that they confuse this movement as progress, and there's a lot of busy work. So how do you help somebody realize that they're caught up in the doing versus the being of what it is what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm familiar with this.
Me too, actually.
Yeah, it's busy work feels good because we feel like we're making movements, but really we're just pushing it around. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not doing nothing. It certainly is helping something in some capacity, but like, again, if we zoom back out and we look at the bigger picture, is this actually helping me to get forward? Are we crawling along here, or are we taking some leaps?
Yeah.
Are we sprinting a little bit? And I think that there's some balance between the two. I think, ask yourself this question. If you get to the end of the day, do you feel like what you did mattered? If you get to the end of the day, every single day, and you feel like you did a bunch of stuff and you don't feel like you're getting anywhere, you are too far in the weeds.
Yeah.
We need to integrate in tasks, focuses, time to do the stuff that's actually going to move us forward, not just get done what needs to be done today.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a really important message. Like, I often describe that as the hamster wheel, right?
Yeah.
Like, are you on there just running and running and running and running? And like, I coach a lot of clients on blocking space, right? And there's a lot of, I think, guilt and shame and expectation that we put around, like, why would I do that? And it's like, because then you get more clarity. You do get the accomplishments that you're looking to achieve, whatever that might be. You have time to recognize you've taken a micro step that actually had a big impact. And I think people resist that because they confuse the busy with, it's productivity, but it's also, if you're in a corporate environment, what does my boss think I'm doing? Right.
Yeah.
And I've caught myself even with this, like, people will say to me, "Oh, Vicki, you're so busy." And I kind of go, I look at them and I go, what do you mean I'm so busy? And they're like, "Oh, you don't have time for a new client because you're too busy." And I'm like, "Of course I have time for a new client." And they're like, "Yeah, but you're doing the podcast, you're doing your PhD, you already have clients, you do leadership." And they start naming off, and I'm like, "But I always have time." Because to what you're saying, I chunk it and I block it. But if I'm working on schoolwork, I do that when I'm in my best headspace.
Yeah.
Space being the key word.
That's the thing,
Right?
space. And it's the it's the consistency, it's the diligence of holding the space. And I want to even add into this, doing nothing, downtime, creative fluid space is just as productive as knocking off things off your to-do list.
100%.
So I think a big part of this is also looking at your relationship with, what does my time look like when I'm not working? Or when I have moments in my day. A lot of the women that I work with feel like they have to fill the time because they need to look busy, they need to feel busy, they need to feel like they're doing something to be productive. And it's like, rest is productive. Blocking in time to be creative is productive. I love a good sit down when it's warm outside with my coffee outside, just staring into the abyss, right?
Yes.
Noticing the color of the sky, looking at how the clouds are moving. I can't tell you how many lightning bolt ideas have come to me when I'm just doing something like that. It's why you often get ideas in the shower, in the car, when you're doing things when you can't be busy doing other things,
It's
because
true.
your brain has capacity to receive. And so we have to be really honest about, like, okay, when is the last time that you created any amount of time in your schedule just to receive, just to be? I mean, it is wild once you start doing that, how much faster things can move,
Yeah.
because you're not forcing the ideas out of you. They're coming to you instead.
Yeah. Love that. And so I'd love your thoughts on, I have my own thoughts on, if you're in a corporate environment, if you're an entrepreneur and you have a personal assistant, or you have someone who manages your calendar, or you have a calendar system, like, one of the things that, and I'd love your thoughts on this, but one of the things I did in my last corporate role, I had an EA who would constantly fill my time. And I took my calendar away from her. I said, "You can't do my time anymore." And she was like, and I'd had a number of conversations, because she'd be like, "Well, you have that time blocked." And I'm like, "For a reason," right? Because I need to have my head down and focus on certain things. And if I'm constantly in meetings, I can't do that, right? And even when I started out as a coach, I had a scheduling system, and I got rid of it because I didn't want my team saying, "Well, you have time." And it's like, no, that is so precious that you have to block your own time and create that space, no matter what role you're in.
Yeah.
So I'd love your thoughts on that, Laura, because I think we do tend to feel the calendar every second if we have the opportunity to do so.
It's very easy, especially if someone's like, "Oh, could you squeeze me in?" And you're looking at the day already and you're like, "I already know I'm going to be exhausted." But yeah, I'd love to do that. I mean, first that comes with getting radically honest with yourself about what your capacity is in the first place. So, small but mighty example, when I'm interviewing for the Gutsy podcast, I only interview on Tuesdays and I only do 2 a day. I learned the hard way, which is how most of us do, that 3, 4, 5 interviews in a day is exhausting. I mean, it just drains me. I love the work. That's not the problem. I just have an energetic capacity in a day. My voice has only so much to give before I start getting cracky. You know what I mean? And so I had to learn, okay, what is my tolerance? What works for me? That's the first thing we got to do. And then second is protect and communicate the time. So one of the things that I might recommend that we shift is if your team is filling your calendar, somebody is like inundating your days, communicate with them. Hey, my max capacity for meetings per day is X, whatever number that is. If I'm doing interviews, I can only do this many a day, right? We have to communicate with them. Otherwise, they're going to do what society has taught them to do.
Exactly.
Which is to fill the time.
Right.
So we have to communicate that and then block it in. Like I use Calendly for my scheduling, and they have blockers now set in or built in that you can put max meetings in.
Nice.
So for
they've listened.
They have listened. They have listened to us. Yes. So once 2 interviews have been booked on a Tuesday in my calendar, that day goes away. So it helps me uphold the boundaries that I've set for myself.
Nice.
So it's kind of a multi-piece, but it's really important to start with being really honest with yourself of what your capacity is and what you need. You know, the other thing I'll say too is, especially in the feminine space, we're cyclical. We were never taught how to work with that. And let's be honest, corporate America doesn't give 2 shits about it.
True.
It's starting to shift little tiny bits at a time. A little bit is better than nothing, but we're getting there. So I'm very intentional when I teach my clients this too, is if you're still in a cyclical nature, to put that in your calendar. Like the week leading up to my period, I'm not hammering. I am not booking tons of things. I'm not booking a bunch of podcast guesting scenarios. Sometimes there are things out of my control, but the things that I can control, I'm like, oh, that's not going to be the best week for me to be on 5 or 6 different other podcasts, right? Like that's not it. So if I just bump it a week, or if I shift it over to this day, I'm going to be in better energy. I'm going to feel better. My message is going to come across stronger. I'm not going to be crying afterwards or beforehand or both. You know what I mean? So like understand, you have to, all of this comes back to understanding yourself.
Yeah.
And what you need and honoring that. There's nothing wrong with you at all. We just have not been taught how to work with our bodies and our systems in a world that wants us to just run like men.
Well, and I think that is the thing. We're in a society where it is all about productivity, keep going. A couple of things you said there. One, yes, honoring yourself, understanding the why and what that impact is on you, but also those that you serve. Like, because there is also an impact on those individuals. If you are not in your highest energetic space, you will disappoint, right? Yeah. And so it's recognizing that. And then it is about honoring those boundaries, right? It's moving that internal dialogue from, oh gosh, I'm disappointing someone, to I'm honoring my boundaries and what I need so that I can show up as my best possible self.
Yes.
Right? And I know there's people sitting in the audience going, oh, Vicki, it's not logical. You can't do that. Yes, you actually can. And you deserve to do that.
And if you don't push back on it, if you're in a setting work-wise where, that's not the norm, if nobody speaks up and challenges it, nothing is ever going to change.
That's right.
That's a gutsy move in its own, right?
100%.
If we don't start advocating for things or talking about things or showing how this has an impact, not just on self, but on team and clients, on bottom line, whatever, the whole 9 yards, what we don't talk about continues. You know what I mean? So if you're in a corporate setting and you're like, I don't have that freedom or flexibility, start to talk about it. I challenge you to have this conversation. I challenge you to say, hey, team, this doesn't work. Hey, boss, this doesn't work. And here's why. Here's what I propose instead.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think that's the key right there is, it doesn't even mean, no, I'm not going to do this.
Yes.
I'm just not going to do this right now.
Yes. Yeah. Right? And in fact, by not doing it right now, I'm going to get it done faster, easier, better. Yeah. If you just get off my case for a second and let me do it when I know that it's going to work best. You know what I mean? Like, I love that you pointed that out. It's not that you're not doing these things, you're just doing them more efficiently. You're working with yourself instead of against yourself. And things just roll so much better. I'm in such a better energy space after I know, first of all, that I'm only going to have 2 in a day, right? To keep on that example. But I also know that I'm not going to be drained for the rest of the day. I know that I'm going to be able to be present with my family at the end of the workday because I'm not just like completely bottomed out. I know that I'm able to give the guest my full undivided attention when I'm doing the work. You know what I mean? Like it just makes sense. And one of the coolest parts about this, Vicki, is it doesn't take many times of you experiencing feeling good for you to be like, okay, I get it. I didn't know this was an option all along. Now that I know, where else can I do this?
Yes.
How much more can I do this? And that's the thing. Like, I know it's scary at first, especially if you're pushing back against, a rule or an expectation, but 1 or 2 times of feeling good or realizing that you have freedom or flexibility or you're more creative or, just things are working better, you're going to be like, oh, okay, hold the phone. I got some stuff to do.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. And if we even take the example when we started this conversation of you having 1 foot over here and 1 foot in this new door, like when you start feeling that, right? And it applies to what we're talking about, you got to really ask yourself, am I in the right place?
Yeah.
Right? And you see this increase in women leaving corporate environments because they feel that torn. It becomes too much, right? Because it's this constant, you got to be on, you got to be on, you got to be on. And that's okay at times, but you have to know when to turn it off.
Yeah,
Right?
that's the thing. If you advocate, if you push, if you give solutions, if you always feel like you are walking uphill, then a different conversation it's time to have.
Yeah.
Is this the right place for me?
Right.
Is there
Exactly.
a place that better supports what I need in my life right now? And whether that's in corporate, whether that's in business, whether that's working with clients, right? Like this is true for all aspects of our life, in our relationships,
100%.
in everything, in our health.
Yeah.
If it's not working anymore and the solutions that you've provided are not being seen and heard, then it comes back to you, friend. What move are you going to make?
What's your next move?
I
Right?
know you love this, but it's just the truth.
Well, and so that takes me, like, I know we have to wrap up here, but one of the things you talk about is identifying what's next, right? And not 5 years from now. Like what is that thing that's coming next? And what's one brave step you can take? So how can listeners get more clarity? Like they're sitting here listening to our conversation, and I know there's some people going, yeah, they just don't know. And we do actually, because we both have lived it.
Yeah.
But what is that next move without feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed or I have to take on the whole world at one time?
There's a couple of angles we could take with this. So I'm going to give a few examples so that no matter where somebody that's listening is, there might be something that resonates. The first next move I'm going to recommend is deciding. We need to make a decision, friend. And if that's you and you're like, I know, but until you decide, until you declare, until you are like, okay, I'm no longer questioning if, I'm deciding that I'm going to.
Yes.
Caveat here, this does not mean you need to do it tomorrow. This does not mean that you have to have all the information by 4 p.m. today. Okay? This is clarity. This is saying I'm going to or I'm not. It's a yes, it's a no. So if there's something that you've been wavering back and forth on, making a decision is a one next step. And watch how that starts to crack open what that next thing is. Okay? If you've already made the decision and you are not sure what you want to do or what you don't want to do, you're kind of back and forth in that space where like, okay, I don't want this anymore. I've decided that, but I don't know what's next. One of the best exercises that you can try is to identify what you don't want. Sometimes that's a little bit easier because we can rattle off the things that we don't like very, very quickly, right? So is it a feeling? Is it a thing? Is it something about your job? Is it something about your relationship? Is it something about your health? Like what are the things that are disrupting you that you don't want? This is going to help to kind of pull apart some of the layers for you to identify, okay, this would work for me. because this is different.
Mhm.
This is a different feeling. So if it's not the thing, what's the feeling that I'm looking for? An example might be when I made the transition from the agency into speaking, one of the feelings that I knew that I wanted was white space.
Mm,
I just wanted some time to exist
yeah.
as Laura, not as the business owner, not as a mom, not as a wife, as Laura. Knowing that I wanted that, I was able to make decisions that supported it instead of going against it. So I don't normally start my day until 9:30, 10 a.m.
Woohoo!
I love a good slow morning where I wander around and I drink my coffee or I lounge around and maybe catch up on a few things here and there, but it's time for me to just exist, right? So that would be the third thing, that is, if it's not a thing that you can identify, what is the feeling that you want? Because if you know what you want, then you can start making the decisions that support that. So I'm not cramming my calendar. I'm not filling in all the little nooks and crannies of the day. I'm like, white space is important to me. Let me make a decision that supports that. So 3 things to kind of noodle in and around on, but that decision, that's probably the biggest one.
Love that. Love that. And you're right. And it's like once you've made that decision, I'm doing X, it's like a weight comes off of you.
Yes.
And I love what you said there a second ago. It's like all the things start coming to you once you've made the decision,
Yeah.
right? And there's countless examples that we could share with that, but you just have to open yourself up to that from a heart space. Like
Yeah.
for me, it's when it comes from the heart, not what you think you should, could, or, would. It's
Yes.
the heart space.
Yeah, I'll give a quick example if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe 2 quick examples. One, a gal that I worked with who was back and forth whether or not to have a divorce, to file for divorce. That's a big conversation. That's a big decision to
Yeah,
make,
it is.
right?
It's huge.
She was straddling 2 worlds for a very long time.
Mhm.
Once she decided, okay, yeah, this is what I need to do, that I need to file, I need to proceed with this. She had a million reasons why. She only needed one, which is her own, right? Once she made that decision, I'm not even kidding you, within a couple of days, she met a girl that she works with that she doesn't normally talk to, who was going through a divorce. And they just started to have a conversation, and she gave her resources to know what to do next.
Wow.
That would not have happened.
Yeah. Great
Right.
example.
The likeliness of that happening would not have been quite as high if she wasn't decided on it and open to receiving that next piece. So that's one big one. Another one is a gal that I work with that's an entrepreneur. She was back and forth, again, straddling 2 worlds, where she was also moving into speaking, but, had a really big tie and a really big background in marketing. She was like, I kind of want to leave marketing, but I don't know if I want to. I want to be known as a speaker and a facilitator, but I don't know if I want to let go of my safety net. She was like, no, I got to let go of it. She decided she's going to remove herself from marketing. She's removing herself from that. She's going full-time facilitation. Within a couple of days, a week maybe, she got 2 emails from past people that she worked with asking if she does facilitation.
I love it.
Excuse me. Okay, so things can move when you get the rocks out of the way. The water flows when you dig the stuff out of the way, right? When you move whatever has been hindering it from being able to move. So, I have a million other stories like that, but it all started with the decision. And notice neither one of these women did these things the next day. They were open to receiving what was next so that they can actually make it happen.
And that right there, I think, is the key message. Are you open to receive?
Yeah.
And that's in every aspect. That can be financially, that can be romantically, that can be friendships, connections, opportunity. Like, are you open to receive?
Yep.
Yeah. Love it. LauraAura, what a great conversation.
Yes.
So where can people find you?
Yeah, LauraAura.com is the best place to find me. It's LauraAura.com. That's the hub for all things me. You can learn about my mastermind for women. I do coaching. I have a community for women. And if you like this tone, you like this message, the Gutsy podcast is a great next step too.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, you can get more insight on those gutsy moves. So chime in, make sure you go on there, subscribe to her podcast. We do help each other. There's a lot of reciprocation that happens with all of us because it is about how do we lift each other up and help each other through whatever the journey is that we're navigating at that time. So thanks so much, Laura, for being here. This has been a great conversation, and I'm excited to be on the Gutsy podcast in the very near future.
I will see you very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And audience, thank you. We know you have a choice as to what podcast you chime into, and we love that you continue to listen. So thank you. And, as you know, if you've listened in before, you can visit us on the willempowered.com website. And we've got a couple of free mini series for you. One is focused on fear and the other one is habits. But we talk a lot about that what if and reframing in that series. So check us out and be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. And we look forward to seeing you on the next Women in Leadership Talk podcast. Laura, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for Will Talk, sponsored by Women in Leadership Empowered. To learn more about our programs, please visit www.willempowered.com. We look forward to seeing you in our community.